Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting. I had some technical difficulties. Miranda says, "Hi, gorgeous." Bonnie says, "Hey, guys." Oh, it's so good to see you both. Cathle's here. Hi. Ooh, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I did one of these, and I lost my flow. So I had to reconnect everything. Um, I shared a link to my Spotify jam in the chat, so you can join that if you want. And then over here, I'll also share the Canva link in the chat. It's in the description box too, but Emily Koga's here. Welcome. Oh, you can only have one pinned message at a time. Okay, so in the chat, I pinned the link to the Canva project, which you can use if you want to. No pressure. Let's see, Miranda's in here. And the koala bear. Okay, cool. I think I'm just gonna get started. Okay. I'm very happy with this little group that we have today. So I'm gonna give a little introduction as I do. You guys know the drill. And as I'm yapping, as they say, if you're not using Canva, get your materials together. Make sure you have a hydrating beverage. And like I said, you can join my Spotify jam if you want to. If you can't see the link in the chat, let me know. But if you haven't used a Spotify jam before, it's basically just so we're all listening to the same music wherever we are. And you can add songs to the queue. Right now I'm listening to some like bad bitch energy music, but I'm gonna change it once we start making our tarot cards. And actually I'm gonna pause while I give my introduction. Okay. So I started doing these to give everybody a chance to make art and self-reflect and also learn a little bit about tarot and how tarot can be used as a tool for self-reflection as well as a tool to inspire creativity. And it's been a while since I've done one of these because I've had a lot of conflicting thoughts about hosting these workshops. And in typical Tom fashion, I was trying to like sort it all out on my own and figure it out on my own. And like, it's just not it. So I'm turning to my community and we're going to chat about it. We're going to chat about how I'm feeling about these tarot making sessions, and I would love your guys' thoughts. I'm really pleased with the people that are here right now because y'all know that I value your opinions a lot. So If you have any thoughts as we're going along, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can text me, or let me know next time we're chatting on the phone. And today we're talking about the Emperor, and it's perfectly aligned with how I'm feeling about these tarot making sessions. So the universe just works out, just period. So let's start talking about the Emperor. I'll give a little background about the card, and then we will start making our own. So the Emperor, you can see, is on the screen, and I always like to give a shout out to Pamela Coleman Smith. She is a queer woman of color who illustrated the Rider-Waite tarot deck, the Rider-Waite Smith tarot deck. And I always like to give her a special shout out because this tarot deck is like the ubiquitous tarot deck. The symbolism and the imagery influenced what we know as tarot today. Like, this is the foundational text, so to speak, of tarot. And it was illustrated by a queer woman of color. So her brilliance, her wisdom, her creativity gave us these really cornerstone images and symbolism. And a lot of the time, she doesn't get credit for that. A lot of the times, you'll see the Rider-Waite Smith deck referred to as only the Rider-Waite deck. It doesn't mention her name at all, which as an artist is absurd to me, that you would take off the illustrator's name when the card is mostly an illustration. But we all know how white men work, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today. So thank you, Pamela Coleman Smith, for your contributions. The Emperor generally represents leadership, authority, discernment. As you can see, he's a very like a ruler kind of figure. The Emperor, like the name itself, is a position of power. So anytime you see the Emperor in a reading, it's usually talking about leadership or society, structure, things like that. So some of the main symbolism in the Emperor I have pointed out. Starting at the top, you'll see that the Emperor is sitting on a throne made of stone. A stone throne. And there are 4 ram's heads, 2 at the top corner and 2 on the arms of the throne. And there's also a ram's head on his shoulder, but it's kind of hard to see. And the ram's heads are symbols of Mars or Aries. Mars is a planet of passion, and it's a fire sign. It's creativity, it's drive, it's saying it with your chest. So that is very present in the Emperor. In his right hand, the Emperor is holding an ankh, which is an Egyptian symbol of life. It's also called the Cross of Life. And in his left hand, the Emperor is holding the Globe of Dominion. And when I was reading up on this, I learned that the right side of the body is the quote-unquote masculine side of the body, And when you think about right brain, left brain, like the right side is like analytical, it's rule following, it's logical. And then the left side is more creative and emotional and fluid. And so the left side of the body, at least in this one source that I consulted, A Complete Guide to the Tarot, um, the left side is the more feminine side. So if we're prescribing to gender ideals, which you know how that goes around here, it's about the balance of both. And the globe of dominion, which is like the realm that the emperor is presiding over, his territory of domain, like that's in his left hand, the feminine side, to indicate that a ruler needs the softer skills. A ruler needs to be tapped into love and emotion and intuition to be able to rule effectively. And I kind of liked that. I liked that reminder of like a leader actually does have to be quite in tune with themselves, and I would go so far as to say like in tune with their feminine aspects. BB said yes. Yeah, whatever I said that you're reacting to, yeah. What else? In the background, you can see mountains behind the emperor, and the mountains represent like a solid foundation that can't be easily moved. So the emperor is somebody that is resolute. They know what they stand for, and they only make changes when necessary. It's not impossible to move a mountain, but you only do it when you need to. And that also relates to the number 4, which the emperor is number 4 in the tarot. And 4 in numerology is all about foundations and like solid structure. You can think of like the 4 corners of a house. There are 4 elements, so air, fire, earth, and water. So it's all about that harmony and like structure. The emperor is wearing a suit of armor underneath his robe, and his robe is red, representing power, passion, life force, energy, and all of those things again are reiterated in the symbols of Mars. We love cohesion. We love continuity. But underneath his red robe, he's wearing a suit of armor, which protects against threats, both emotional threats and like physical threats. So the emperor is suited up. BB said, like the live beloveds. I know that's right. Thank you for the support. I didn't write this on the slide here, but I also wanted to point out the little river that you can kind of barely see in the back. And if you've tuned into any of my other tarot making sessions, you'll know that we've talked about this river before. We saw it in the High Priestess. We saw it in the Empress. I'm pretty sure we also saw it in the Magician. Maybe. I could have been making that part up, but definitely the High Priestess and the Empress. And to jog your memory, this represents the stream of consciousness. And it's present in all of these cards because our consciousness flows through everything. At least when we're living consciously, which is why we use tarot in the first place, to help us live consciously. So just a little reminder. that our conscious is part of everything we do, everything we think, everything we feel. And being tapped into it is how you are tapped into your truth. So that's the main symbolism of the emperor. He also has like a long white beard, which is supposed to represent like old age and wisdom and experience. If anybody has any other interpretations of the Emperor or any questions or reactions to what I've shared about the Emperor so far, feel free to throw that in the chats. I always like to encourage folks to get busy in the chat. It's a great way to connect to each other, especially for those of you who don't get to see each other very often or ever. All right. I'm going to pause for a second, see if anyone has any questions. Today I'm drinking Lady Grey tea. I love Earl Grey, but I love Lady Grey even more. She's just that girl. She's just that girl. It's a bit more citrusy. And I'm also going to start my music again. Today we're listening to Nemesis. So now that we've learned a little bit more about the Emperor, oh, Cathal said, yum, I'm drinking a sage herbal tea. I always love the different kinds of tea you have. So now that we've learned a little bit more about the Emperor, we're going to make our own. And this is the point in the program where I remind you that you don't actually have to make a tarot card. You don't have to make anything if you don't want to. You can just sit here and listen and think. You also don't have to like create a physical work of art. You can sing, you can dance, you can make music, you can journal or write a poem, or any kind of art form that you want. And to make our tarot card, I have provided some reflection questions that I will guide us through. Feel free to listen to me and like follow along, or tune me the fuck out and do your own thing. Like, it's really not that serious. We're just here to be together and make art. So if you want to follow along with me in Canva, I pinned a link to the Canva project in the chat. And I will also kind of walk through some Canva tips and tricks to help you, especially if you've never used Canva before. So if you are in Canva, feel free to go to page 4 and select the icon that has 2 squares with a plus sign that says duplicate page. And that way you can make your own page. As you can see, I did mine. Feel free to write your name on the slide if you want to, but no pressure. I would also recommend deleting everything so that you have a blank slate. Again, that's up to you. Bonnie says, I am drinking mango nectar. Okay, Bonnie. It's giving Olympian. Nectar of the gods. Give me a gourmet tea or hibiscus if we're being cheap. The times are what they are, so we'll go with the hibiscus. somebody added a song to the queue. I love that. Okay, I'm getting so distracted. So before I start, so go ahead and get started with your tarot cards. But before I start, I actually wanted to read the interpretation of the Emperor from a tarot deck that I have. And that's going to kind of help situate myself in what I want to talk about. So I'm reading from the Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. I'll see if I can hold it up. So, in the Fifth Spirit Tarot, the meaning of the Emperor is this. And remember, like, typically the Emperor is all about leadership and authority. So, this tarot deck says, the Emperor is a tricky card. Its usual meanings of authority, order, and leadership gain a sinister tint in a world where authority is oppressive, order is unjust, and leaders lie. So instead of presidents and kings, let's look elsewhere for our emperors. To farmers, environmental scientists, indigenous elders, green city planners, etc. If the Empress, the card that came before the Emperor, is the wild fruiting vine of natural creation, then the Emperor is the sturdy trellis that lends its structure so the vine may climb closer to the sun. This is not an emperor of oppression and control, but of duty, accountability, and the benevolent stewardship of the land and its people. When this card appears, turn your powers and smarts to these ends in your own life. What could be working better? Where could you be of better service to yourself and others? How are you showing up in authenticity, integrity, and responsibility? Here you are charged to step into your personal power and agency and become the benevolent ruler of your own life. I see that Bonnie said, Mewtwo is taking lead in his life. Good choice. And I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about Mewtwo before I chose him for this tarot card. I love Pokemon, but Mewtwo was unfamiliar to me, and apparently Mewtwo is like considered the most savage Pokemon out of all Pokemon. And Mewtwo perpetuates this idea of a hierarchy that places humans and other Pokemon subservient to Mewtwo. But in the lore, Mewtwo actually learns how to open up his heart and help humans. And I thought that was a perfect choice for what I just read from the Fifth Spirit Tarot, because I don't want to talk about the Emperor in terms of oppression and control. Bonnie said they wanted him in a lab forever, and he said, nah. Yeah, he said, I'm too good for that. I'm smarter than you, I'm more powerful than you. But as the movie went on, as the series went on, like, he learned how to soften up and help humans and support them. So I wanted to start with that because one of the biggest questions that I have been asking myself is, should I keep doing these tarot making sessions? And it's related to this question of whose leadership do you trust? Because in my own spiritual work, I have been learning about the history of tarot. And parallel to that, and also just more generally, I have been trying to pay attention to the ways I personally practice spirituality and how that is related to white supremacy and systems of oppression. Because when I practice spirituality, I don't want to be reinforcing colonization. I don't want to be reinforcing cultural appropriation. I want to be very, very mindful and very, very intentional about how I'm practicing spirituality, because I know that a lot of spiritual practices that we have today were co opted from communities of color. And tarot is one of them. I still have a lot to learn about it. And, that's the beauty of life. You can always keep learning. But what I do know right now is that tarot was created by ancient Africans, specifically in Egypt. It's an ancient African practice. But when you Google history of tarot, a lot of sources will tell you that it started as a parlor game for wealthy aristocrats. So in my head, I'm like, that's interesting. How did it go from ancient Egypt to the parlors of wealthy white people? I think we all know the answer to that. And if you don't know the answer, that's okay. The answer is colonization. So whose leadership do you trust? I don't trust the sources that say tarot started as a parlor game for wealthy aristocrats. No. I trust the leaders that are telling me tarot is actually an indigenous practice, like a lot of other spiritual practices, like yoga, for example. I know some of you in the chat practice yoga. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this all up is because in my own liberation journey, in my own liberation work, I have been coming across very thought-provoking questions around spiritual practices. And one of them is like, who was the practice created by? Who was it created for? Tarot wasn't created for me as a white person, but I am benefiting from it, and I'm using it for my own healing. So am I to be trusted to lead these sessions, And I don't have an answer for that, so I would love to hear your thoughts. Is it responsible of me to be facilitating tarot making sessions? Because, when I think about who I want to learn tarot from, and who I actually have learned tarot from, it's queer Black women, indigenous artists, and that's who I feel like we should be learning about these things from. But I don't know, so that's what I'm pondering. So I'm gonna add some leaves to my Bonnie said those are heavy questions for a YouTube chat box, LOL. I feel like if you respect the roots and spread information about those who came before you, it's okay, but I am very biased towards you, lol. I appreciate that answer, Bonnie. And yeah, I understand that, like, this probably isn't what you all came here to talk about. Maybe I should have, like, primed that a little more. But we're here now. I am who I am. I'm not perfect, so if you don't want to engage in this conversation with me, do your own thing. I almost want to give him, like, leave wings. I always give my people wings, but, it is what it is. But I'm feeling like these, like, kind of green natural things are coming to me because that's what I think of when I think of, like, indigenous elders, or like the leadership of queer women of color. Like, I think of earthy things. Oh, you know what I actually want? I think I'm actually gonna give him, like, some garland adornments. That could be interesting. So right now I'm just thinking about whose leadership do I trust? Hmm. I'm looking for a wreath because I kind of want it to be similar to, like, a crown situation. At least symbolically, anyways. Oh, Cathel's talking in the chat. I've never heard of tarot coming from Egypt. I'll have to research that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I can share the video that I watched. I've heard anecdotally that they've been connected to Kabbalistic, which is Jewish mysticism practices, for a long time, which would make sense if they originated in Egypt. Yeah. Curious and interesting questions, though. In my opinion, I don't think you're necessarily acting as an authority during these sessions, and it's more collaborative. Yeah, I get that feeling too, if that makes any difference. Yeah, because I feel like I'm not necessarily, like, what I'm providing is more of, like, the creative service. Like, I'm more of a guide to helping you create something. And we're just using tarot as inspiration. Yeah, I can see that. This is not giving what I wanted it to give. Also, before I get too carried away, I don't know how long I'm going to be here today. I can see myself being here for a long time, so feel free to come and go as you please. You do not have to stay for the whole thing. But I like being here with you all, and I like working in Canva, so I'm just going to take my time. And this is like kind of an important topic to me, so I'm not trying to rush, but you know, do what you gotta do. Okay, that actually is better. Kind of giving him some like majestic leaf wings. Okay. I like where this is going. Okay, next question. What makes a leader responsible and benevolent? So this is closely related to what we were already talking about, or what I was already talking about. I think, in my opinion, I consider a leader responsible when there are a couple of qualities that I would look for. A, acknowledging the sources of their information, like giving credit to the people or ideas or sources that are informing their decisions. And along a similar note, like making decisions based on information and not just self-serving decisions, I guess. It's kind of hard to describe, but I think a benevolent leader is somebody that looks out for the highest good of as many people as possible. Bonnie said integrity and thoughtful of their impact. Yeah. Okay. I might be having some connectivity issues, but it's fine. I think a responsible and benevolent leader um, has like an intrinsic understanding of equity. Also, in the chat, BB, are you Bridget? Just want to know. Um, I think maybe. So BB said, I think of a responsible leader as one that is accountable to the people as well. They govern with a mindset of Ubuntu. I am because we are. And they see leadership as service, not dominion. Yeah. So what does that look like? Like visually? All of these qualities, integrity, thoughtfulness, Ubuntu, accountability, equity. How do we represent that artistically? That's kind of cool. Do I like that one better or do I like this one better? Ooh, that one's cool. I like the first one better. Okay, so that is Bridget. Cool. I will keep calling you BB though, because that's your name in the chat. So I am giving Mewtwo this like rainbow glow coming out of his hands because when I think of all of the characteristics we've talked about, especially around like collectivism and equity, I just think of rainbows because it's gay, gay rights. So I picture Mewtwo like shooting a rainbow out of his hand. BB is thinking community circles. I like the idea of a circle. I wonder. I like the idea of a circle too, so maybe I'll give Mewtwo a circle tattoo. To be honest, I've never really tried to make a tattoo in Canva, so we'll see how this goes. I'm thinking like on his cheek almost. I could also do this one. You just can't see the detail when it's so small. But one of the things I love about doing these creativity workshops is the opportunity to think about these kind of, as Bonnie said, heavy questions. And like how to conceptualize them artistically. Because I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever thought about how to creatively express a responsible and benevolent leader. It just makes you think, you know? I kind of like the circle tattoo. Thank you, Bridget, for that idea. The question is, do we add another? That's kind of interesting. Okay. For some reason I want to give him an eyebrow. But not like a hairy eyebrow. Let me just see what this looks like. Is anybody else in Canva? No? Okay. Okay, slay. I kind of like that for some reason. Okay. Well, we can play around with it some more. Moving on to the next question. Thank you for indulging my thought process. It's given me some things to think about, and I appreciate that. So now we're moving on to talking about personal power. What does your own personal power feel like? And I guess a preliminary question for that is, have you ever thought about your personal power? What does that feel like? What does that look like? What colors would you associate with your own personal power? What textures? Is it fuzzy? Is it spiky? Is it velvety? Does it have a sound? Does it move? How does it move? So when I do these tarot making sessions, and also when I do some of my other workshops, I that's when I feel tapped into my personal power doing this. And to me, my personal power feels very clear, like like a clear sky or like clear glass. And I feel it in my chest mostly, you know, heart chakra energy and solar plexus chakra. Um, yeah. So if you are having a hard time accessing your personal power, or if you've never done it before, there's a lot of ways that you can try to do that. Um, you'll just have to find whichever one works for you. For me, I meditate. That helps me tap into my personal power. I pursue my passions. So I do things like this. I make art. I plan cool events. um, and doing all of those things connects me to my personal power. So think about things that you're passionate about. When's the last time you did something that you really love, that you feel called to do? Hmm. Hell yeah. Has there ever been a time when you have been doing something or thinking something or with somebody when you're like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing? This feels really right to me. Um, what was that? What was that thing that you were doing? Or who were you with? maybe that is leading you to your personal power. And what did that feel like? Can you describe that feeling with words or colors or shapes? BB said, Bonnie, I like yours too. I'm gonna go on Pinterest and see what's there. Yep. I'm gonna look at Bonnie's later. I'm thinking sacral chakra and all the things that are possible when my sacral is balanced. I felt that. For me, I associate the sacral chakra with like creativity and things like that, fiery things. So I feel that because a lot of the things that I talked about when I feel tapped into my personal power are based on creativity, which is the sacral chakra. So for now, I just put a little skirt on me too because that just felt right. I might change it out later, but I was hoping for more of like a translucent kind of skirt, so maybe that one. All right, let's move on to the last question. How do you use discernment in your life? So the Emperor is a very discerning figure. By nature, they understand what's right for them and I suppose the people they're leading. And I think of discernment in relation to the mountains that were in the background of the Emperor. Because discerning would be the quality of saying, when do I need to move the mountain? And when do I stand firm? So discernment can look like boundaries. When you have boundaries, you have to have discernment in order to enforce them. Otherwise, they'll just be disrespected. I use discernment with like I use a lot of discernment with how I spend my time and who I spend my time with. I don't really like to hang out with people I don't vibe with, you know. So I just say no. Not for me. I wonder. Let's see. Cathal said, "Oh yes, Bonnie, that's so lovely. Did you do the drawing yourself?" Yeah, I love Bonnie's art. Bridget said, "In this moment today is the last time." That's really special. This moment feels very right to me watching you all create. Yes, that is how I feel every single time I do these. Like the biggest reward I get from hosting these sessions is seeing what everybody makes. Like, I love to see people create, and I love the feeling of like knowing that I guided them to that. I just think it's a very beautiful and unique way to connect with somebody that we don't get a lot of in our daily lives. Bonnie said, yeah, sorry I was messing with Canva. I use watercolor. Yeah, Bonnie is a watercolor maven. And Bonnie works with 14-year-olds, so they use discernment in what battles they choose to fight. Yeah. Very much that. I'm trying to use discernment right now in deciding what I want to add to Mewtwo. This is not going in the direction I thought it was going to go in, but that's just beautiful to me as well. Oh, I kind of want to give him a unicorn horn. Okay, so to explain my thought process here, when I think of discernment, yes, it's a mental process, but I feel it like right here on my forehead, like very frontal cortex, like kind of in between the third eye and the crown. Like this is where my discernment lives. And what better way to represent that creatively than with a unicorn horn? And then I think my emperor will be complete for now. As always, I always go back and like make tweaks to what I do here. So the quote-unquote final card that I make ends up looking a little bit different than what I end up making on the live stream. Okay, where should it go though? I actually kind of love that. Okay, yeah, I think that's that. Okay, so a couple of people added theirs. So this is the point of the program where we are officially done making our tarot cards. You can keep working if you want to. You can log off if you want to, but I'm going to go back and look at Bonnie's and Cathel's and just live react and give them some love for showing up today and making art with me. If you made art outside of Canva and you want to add it in, please feel free to do so. And if you're just listening right now, you can always come back and watch the replay. Or if you use watercolor or something today and you want to try Canva, you can come back and try Canva. The link that's in the description box is live. It'll always be live. It's always open. So you can go back at any time and make a tarot card in Canva if you want to. And that's true for all of the ones that I've done so far. So if you want to go back and make the Fool or the Magician, that Canva project is still open and you can go play around in there. And if you do, you can see my finished versions. Okay. Let's see what everyone else made. Yeah, I'm like kind of very happy with what I made. Okay, Bonnie. This is Bonnie's signature font. The Emperor is taking lead of their own life, but they don't need to move a mountain. They are building it one pebble at a time. Ooh. I like that this Emperor is adding on to the mountain, making it more firm. This Emperor is also very like youthful to me. Like this person looks rather young, almost like a child, I would say. And I love that. I don't know if Bonnie intended for that, but that's what I'm getting. And I like thinking of children as being leaders, um, because I do think children deserve more credit for their imagination, for their flexibility, for their empathy. Yeah, this Emperor is very playful to me, and I like the I guess it's like a sunset vibe, the purple and the yellow sky. I also love that this Emperor is not sitting on a throne. The throne felt kind of like presumptuous to me, and the throne was giving me the oppressor vibes that we were talking about. So I like that this little guy is just like doing his own thing. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Bonnie said we have the same gradient background. Great minds think alike. True. Um, and then Cathal said, "Oh, yours defaulted onto mine when I added a new slide, and I thought it was Tom's cute edition." Yeah, it is really lovely. Oh, I like the different colored crown gems and shoulder pads. Very balanced, very gorge. Yeah. I did notice that the crown gems were different colors too. And like the little shoulder clips. It's giving coordinated. It's giving style. We love a leader with style. They were to represent gender. Oh, very cute. Okay, thank you, Bonnie. As always, I love it. Ooh. Sturgeon said, I made my emperor an owl because the owl is wise and calm in most mythology, and to me, those are important and strong traits in a leader and someone who takes charge of their own life, etc. Smiley face. And also scary and in charge with a huge, strong body and talons. Yeah, owls are like very powerful and can be very frightening if you get on its bad side. I also think the horns on a great horned owl resemble a crown. Yep, I feel that way too. I was inspired by Tom's foliage to do some foliage on mine. Yes. I liked the red in the Rider Waite Smith deck, so I made my card red too. Yeah, it's such a great color to represent all of the things that a leader represents, like power and passion and drive. Um, Sturgeon, how did you make this? Is this by hand? Did you use your iPad? I love this. Um, I also like that you added the Roman numeral at the top to keep it consistent. The eyes, to me, the eyes of your owl are very piercing. Like I feel like there's a lot of personality there. Um, like I like how the owl's face is expressive, but not like overwhelming. And I think that's a good quality of a leader too, is to be able to like communicate quietly sometimes. Oh, Cathal used Procreate and painted it digitally. Woohoo! Gorgeous, gorgeous. Anyone else? Ah, Miranda. Let's see. Bridget said, I'll throw mine in there. This was so funny. I'm glad you thought so. I try to have fun. Like, even though we talked about some heavy things today, it's all just thought, you know, it's just thoughtful reflection. And gotta keep it light, you know? Gotta have some humor every now and then. So, Miranda creates these dog portraits. This is the second one that I've seen from her for these tarot sessions. And I love that this German Shepherd, well, first of all, I love that Miranda chose a German Shepherd as the dog breed. Like, right off the bat, a great choice. No notes. And that German Shepherd looks so good in a suit of armor. Like that is giving power, that is giving dignity, responsibility, loyalty. Like I trust that dog. I trust that dog with my life. And then the color palette to me is very satisfying. I like the deep purple because we often associate purple with royalty, and an emperor is a type of royal position, I would say. So I love the reference there. And the purple sky is giving to me like a nighttime aesthetic, and a nighttime is to me very calm and very like. When I was talking about discernment, I was talking about like a clear sky, and like a nighttime sky to me is very clear and very like, I can think clearly, I can see clearly, I can take a breath, and then go to bed. um, and I love the abstract mountains in the back. And I see the little diamond on the forehead for discernment. Of course, it's magenta. Love to see it, love to see it. Stunning. What's everyone saying? I love the shapes. So stunning. Yep, so stunning indeed. Bonnie loves how geometric his face is. His eyes look to be different colors. Ooh, I didn't notice that. That's true. That's very interesting. Shoulder pads make me feel powerful. Yeah, same girl. BB, the power is exuding. The owl sees all. It's giving discernment. Yeah, the owl is giving discernment. Honestly, so is this dog. Alright. I'm so pleased that everybody added their pictures. And as always, I love that everybody did something different. My community, if there's one thing about my community, is that we are multi-talented. We have a lot of different skill sets. We have a lot of different interests. And it is so magical to me to see them being expressed to explore like the same themes in different ways. And we all have our own unique perspectives, and it's just so beautiful. As Sturgeon says, peace and love on planet Earth. That's how I feel every time I do these. Oh Miranda said, just to circle back to your initial question, I think in giving credit to proper sources, you're sharing in the tradition in a very responsible and respectful way, and helping others like me do so too. That said, I would love to learn about tarot from an indigenous artist or a queer woman and would be interested in seeking out opportunities to do so. But I wouldn't have known that without you, XOXO. Thank you for saying that, Miranda. Yeah, you've all given me some things to think about. Um, so I might do another one of these. We'll see. If I decide not to do any more of these, I will do just generic art meetups, just not based in tarot. We'll see. But either way, we're gonna get together again to make art and reflect, and just chat. So, never fear. I'm not going anywhere, and I hope you don't either. Subscribe, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I have to say it. And if you got value out of what I offered today, please feel free to tip me. I accept Venmo and Cash App, and checks and cash if you want to send it to me in the mail. That was another thing that I was wondering, like, is it responsible of me to collect payment for these? And I think so, because I'm offering a special service. I'm offering my time and my expertise. And like we talked about before, I'm not really giving a tarot reading per se. We're just using it as inspiration to make our own art. So that's one thing that came out of today, and I appreciate that perspective that you all have given me. So, alrighty. Bonnie said, I will be here for whatever form it takes. Hit that Venmo. Yes, girl, period. End of sentence. All right, I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me in my dreams and my personal passions and allowing me to exist in my full power. I couldn't do it without you all, so thank you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.